Brazen burglars smashing their way into gun stores across our country. These break-ins are on the rise, and the stolen guns, they're turning up on our streets.
That's right. The News 4 I-team has spent months tracking stolen guns in our area, and they've been matching them once they're recovered, many of them used during violent crimes.
Investigative reporter Jody Fleischer is here with the impact that those guns are having and what can be done to stop it. Jody.
Well, we teamed up with more than a dozen NBC stations and the nonprofit journalism organization The Trace to document the trail of stolen guns across the country. We did it using the gun serial numbers, which are important to officers because they help solve crimes. And they should be important to all gun owners because that's how you can get your gun back if it's stolen.
I hear of guns getting stolen all the time.
Police say that's exactly what this crew of gun thieves was trying to do this past March in Fredericksburg.
They were able to breach this door with a crowbar and breach the glass.
But they did not get inside Kurt Sebastian's SSG Tactical.
With the cage, the way we've designed it, they just couldn't break through it.
Just 3 days earlier, they did get inside 50 West Armory in Chantilly.
They basically smashed the first 3 cases. They took what was closest to the door.
35 guns gone in less than a minute. The thieves eventually got caught, but almost all of those guns are still on the street.
Once they're out there in the wrong hands, how hard is it to get them back?
Very hard. We essentially have to wait for a crime to occur.
The Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms says the problem of stolen guns is growing.
It's on the upward trend in most every city here in the United States, and I think we have our work cut out for us.
So the News 4 I-team requested data from the largest local departments in the district, Maryland and Virginia, and crunched the numbers. We found nearly 5,000 guns reported stolen in the last 5 years. During the same time, those same departments recovered more than 10,000 guns.
The impact is quite clear. It's devastating.
We found at least 60 local guns reported stolen in one jurisdiction that turned up in another. Some even traveled across the country. One gun stolen in Fairfax County was found in Austin, Texas. One from Prince William found in Missouri. A gun traveled from Atlanta to D.C. and another from Charlotte to Alexandria.
I have a firearm trace I need assistance with.
When an officer finds a gun on a suspect or at a scene, the ATF's National Trace Center calls the original gun dealer to find out who was the first to buy it. That gives officers a starting point. Then they go to the next buyer and the next in hopes of ending up at their criminal. The ATF traced nearly 20,000 guns for officers in D.C., Maryland, and Virginia last year alone. But those traces are impossible without this.
So that's the official serial number.
Kurt says every gun owner should record serial numbers in a safe place for insurance purposes and to be able to get your guns back if they're stolen.
There's 1,000 reasons on top of the criminal aspect of it that you need to know what your guns are and record those serial numbers.
But of the stolen gun reports the I-team reviewed, nearly 2,000 had no serial number listed, meaning either the owner didn't know it or the officers didn't enter it. The ATF says both are critical and that every missing gun should be reported to law enforcement immediately.
We don't care how many guns you have or where they are. What we do care about is public safety.
Which is why this group was such a concern. The ATF named them the Blowtorch Crew for obvious reasons.
Very brazen, very reckless, and it's pretty scary.
They also used sledgehammers and rocks to bust their way into more than a dozen stores across the Carolinas and Georgia, some more than once. They stole 340 guns. Only 87 have been found, most during new crimes. Even here in the district, one gun was used in at least 2 shootings, including a woman's murder. When thieves hit this gun store in Montgomery County in March, you can hear them smashing the glass cases and stealing dozens of guns, some right off the wall, in just 90 seconds.
Just basically lock up your firearms at the end of the night. You don't see jewelry stores at night leave their jewels out in the open.
Kurt says that would be impossible for a store with this many guns, but it's the reason he has a steel cage, an alarm, cameras, even motion sensors in his ceiling. A gun from the burglary crew he kept out of his store in March was found at a Prince George's murder scene this summer.
Well, I wouldn't want to live with myself if this stuff got in the wrong hands.
There is federal legislation pending to toughen penalties for those who steal from gun stores. The owner of that Montgomery County store told me police have made arrests and he has made extensive security upgrades, basically turning his whole store into a vault. Now, stores are required to report stolen guns to the ATF. As for regular gun owners, D.C. and Maryland have mandatory reporting, but Virginia does not. The NRA says punishing individual owners who don't report their guns stolen just victimizes them even further.
Okay, interesting. Wow, that's kind of overwhelming.
It is, and it does vary from place to place, so
Sure.
you have to know the laws where you live.
Yeah.
That idea of having a cage or some sort of
Something
way to
I would-
protect them
yeah.
better than jewelry stores protect their crap.
I mean,
their
watching
wares.
those guys do the smash and grab looked like it just took a matter of seconds.
Absolutely, and an overwhelming number of those stolen guns do end up used in later violent crimes, so it's a scary thing.
All right,
Jody.
thank you, Jody.
Thank you.
Nice work.
Police protect our families and our streets, carrying a badge and a gun. But tonight, a News 4 I-Team investigation reveals local crooks by the hundreds have successfully targeted the cops. As Scott McFarland reports tonight, they're not going after money, but something else that puts us all at risk.
The what-ifs are disturbing. It felt like a normal school day earlier this year at Albert Einstein High School in Kensington. Until the call came to parents like Cynthia Campagna.
You always think of the worst things that could happen.
A school resource officer stopped a student in a car acting suspiciously. The 18-year-old ran before being arrested.
We don't know what the person's intent was, but you always think, well, what if? What if the person had brought it into the school? What if the person had used it in the school?
Police discovered not only was the car stolen, but they say in the trunk, Mario Alvarado had a stolen AR-15 assault rifle. Alvarado has pleaded not guilty to a federal firearms charge.
Perhaps even more surprising for parents is from where and from whom the gun found here was taken.
Police say it was stolen a week earlier from the cops, from Rockville Police.
These weren't stolen from a marked cruiser.
No, these were stolen from an unmarked detective's vehicle.
Out front of his house.
Yes.
The News 4 I-Team found law enforcement is often targeted by criminals for their firearms. Using the Freedom of Information Act, we requested firearms logs from nearly 24 local and federal police departments. And we found that Rockville police gun is one of more than 350 local and federal police guns stolen or lost just since 2011. Nearly 36 in D.C., 28 in Prince George's County, 10 in Alexandria, 8 from Virginia State Police, 6 in Prince William, 5 in Montgomery, 4 from Metro Transit Police.
Individuals that are known to possess firearms legally become the targets.
Kevin O'Keefe is Chief of Operational Intelligence with the ATF and says, as with private gun owners, police weapons can often be the target of a car break-in.
I think that people breaking into cars are looking for anything of value.
5 of the 6 stolen in Fairfax County since 2012 were taken from officers' cars, the trunks or glove boxes. Kelvin Walker is serving a life sentence for robbing and shooting a teenager in Hillcrest in 2011. Using a gun he stole from the car of an off-duty Florida police officer parked at the Springfield Metro Station. Few of these guns are ever found. Of the 34 stolen or lost in D.C., 2 are listed as recovered. This Glock and rifle stolen from an FBI agent's vehicle near 8th Street in Northeast D.C. are still missing 18 months later. Calvert County Sheriff tells the I-Team they haven't found the rightful owners of a cache of police guns seized in March during a traffic stop.
The I-Team surveyed more than a dozen local police agencies to find out their policies, and each said they do have one. Many require rifles or guns be locked when stored inside cruisers, and there are also different policies for when guns are inside the trunks. Some require guns be locked in cases even when inside the trunks. Others require ammunition be removed. Some limit how long they can be in here. And here in Rockville, they changed the policies after the guns were stolen in May.
We don't want to have our weapons in the view of the public at all times, going in and out of officers' homes.
City policy now requires police firearms stored in a trunk also be locked in a vault in the trunk. Parents at Einstein High School say all gun owners, whether private citizens or police, need to be diligent about locking up.
I don't want firearms getting out to the community that shouldn't be there.
Because the what-ifs are scary when police guns end up in the wrong hands. Scott McFarland, News 4 I-Team.
Now, the I-Team has spent months investigating stolen guns across the country with help from more than a dozen other NBC stations and the nonprofit journalism organization The Trace. To see their results, visit our NBC Washington app and just click on Investigations.